Okay, welcome back. We're going to continue this teaching. Now it says there are three stages to sustaining the essence of Rigpa: recognizing it, becoming familiar with it, and resting in its steady. So this sentence summarizes the entire Dzogchen path of practice in a very precise way. In Dzogchen teachings, there are three stages, or three, you could say, three qualities we need to develop when we practice the nature mind. So the first is recognition. So recognition is seeing the nature mind, the essence of Rigpa itself, right? Three stages to sustaining the essence of Rigpa, then recognizing it, becoming familiar with it, resting it steadily. So these three. So first, the recognition, the direct knowing of awareness itself. So this recognition is not the same as understanding an idea, such as the mind is empty or mind is luminous. But recognition usually happens through pointing out instruction from a qualified teacher. And it is a direct experience of the awareness that is already present. There is a sense of openness and clarity. Thoughts and emotions still arise, but there is a clear knowing that is aware of them. So recognition arises when the mind relaxes, when conceptual activity momentarily subsides. Recognition is simply knowing that you are aware without thinking about it. It is not a thought. It is not a feeling or not created by any kind of effort. So therefore, there is no need to do anything. And once you have a recognition, you don't analyze it, or you don't try to repeat it, or you don't improve it. But you simply rest in it, acknowledge it. So recognition is like suddenly noticing the mirror itself, not the reflection in it. For a long time when we, look at a mirror, we only, pay attention to the image, face and colors and movements and, then some reason, in one moment we realize that this is a mirror. The mirror has always been there. Nothing new is created, right? But we just did not recognize. We just not focus on the mirror. We focus on the images that reflect in a mirror. So it's kind of same way thoughts, emotions, and perceptions are kind of reflections. So the Rigpa itself is mirror, like awareness. So here recognition is seeing the mirror itself. You don't improve the mirror, you just recognize it is there, right? So this is first qualities we need to develop when we practice the nature mind, the recognition. Then here, second stage is called familiarization. Because recognition always lasts only a moment, right? Then what happens is we get distracted. Then we start thinking again. Therefore, we lose the recognition. That's why the second stage, the familiarization, is very, very important, and this is the hardest. To keep, practice. So familiarization is learn how to return to that recognition that you realize it through your pointing instructions. You return to that recognition again and again and again. So this stage is very difficult because, all this distraction and it's kind of, boring. There's nothing special. You just have to come back, return, again, all the time. And it's kind of boring, and therefore many people become lazy and give up. That's why this stage is the hardest. So the key instruction here is to practice, we usually say short sessions, right? Repeat it many times. You do like 1 minute, no, not even 1 minute, one movement, and then again come back, another movement. You do this like timelessly, right? Like, that's why it's kind of boring, but you can see like eventually improvement. So short session, repeated many times, that's the method, kind of, So recognize awareness and simply rest in it. And then when you lose it, and you gently return without force yourself or trying to correct anything. You don't think, you don't judge or follow your thoughts or emotions. when you return again, and if you are involved with thoughts and emotions, you already lost the awareness. So you simply recognize awareness in which they arise. So if you don't give up, over time, recognition comes more easily. So you understand the importance of continuing the practice. The first, you feel like, this is hard, this is difficult, I rather practice, this and that, and recite prayers or circumambulate, whatever, because you don't see the improvement, But when you not give up and do it again and again all the time, and then you will, over time, you will understand importance of the continuing the practice. So familiarization is like becoming accustomed to the sky rather than the weather. At first, we keep getting pulled into the clouds, wind and storms, right? Sometimes we remember the sky, then we forget again. But the sky is still there. Thoughts and emotions are like a cloud. They move and change all the time, but they can't damage the sky, right? Same thing, thoughts, emotions, all the time, but can't damage this awareness. So therefore, familiarization means repeatedly sort of looking past the clouds again and again, not judging, not, So recognition and familiarization. Then the third quality or stage is stabilization, in which Rigpa becomes natural, effortless, and continues. So at this stage, there is less separation between meditation and your daily life. So awareness remains present even during your activities, like thoughts and emotions and thoughts, self-liberate more quickly. So stabilization, this doesn't mean thoughts, emotions, or challenges stops to arise. But it means stability arises naturally without any effort to hold on to your Rigpa. So each stage supports the other. So like recognition makes familiarization possible, right? Familiarization deepens recognition, and stability grows naturally from both. So recognize, relax, and repeat until rest and awareness become natural. So this stability is like a resting in the depth of the ocean, so to speak. They use these metaphors, you know. When, you know, on the surface, there are different kinds of waves, and, you know, movement is constant, right? But deep below, the ocean remains calm and undisturbed. So when the Rigpa is stable, thoughts, emotions continues to arise, but awareness remains deep and steady. So that's how you understand these three stages, or these three qualities. That's how you develop, you know, these three qualities. Okay? Now teaching says, at first clarify your recognition so that through the Guru's through the Guru's instructions, you come to see the direct face of Rigpa, naked and free from conceptual elaboration. Once recognition is certain, it is essential to sustain the essence of Rigpa itself. Okay. Now here Mipham Rinpoche explains those stages, those qualities here one by one. Okay? So it says, at first clarify your recognition. It means recognition of Rigpa may initially arise, but it's often mixed with concept and thoughts. You always like, am I right? Do I recognize correctly? Is this right? So you always like thinking, you know, I don't think I recognize nature, my mind. Or maybe this is it. You know, so often mixed with this thoughts, you know. So it needs to become clear. But clarification here doesn't mean analyzing or thinking more, right? It means directly experiencing what Rigpa is and what it is not. That's very, very important, because otherwise, if you don't recognize nature mind, the first stage, the first one, then second, familiarization and stability, all this that means nothing. You know, I mean, maybe you're familiarized with your shamatha, mindfulness, something. It's something good, but not the nature mind, the nature awareness. So therefore, Mipham Rinpoche says, at first clarify your recognition. So this clarification comes through the Guru's instructions. It says, you know. So this is very important, because recognition does not, as I said, you know, arise from reading books and listen teachings, anything else. It's just not. I mean, believe me, you know, it's only arise through direct pointing out. Even like you receive pointing instruction doesn't also mean like you recognize. You need all this. Remember, we talked about the last session, all these foundations. With that foundation, and then through the pointing out instructions, then unmistakable, your recognition. You may feel like, oh, intellectually, I know it, I recognize it, and then, but actually not. Without this, it's just very unique, you know. Seems very simple, but it's very complicated, the recognized nature mind. So it says, right, through the Guru's pointing of instruction, the Guru does not give Rigpa, right? But they point to, like what is already present, so the helping to cut through sort of misunderstanding and confirm your recognition. Now the question is, can recognition happen without devotion? Yes, it's possible, I think. It is possible. It can happen even if the student doubts the guru, teacher. However, the problem is it is easily confused about Rigpa. Even if recognition arises without devotion, the problem is doubt returned quickly. Doubt means like you always meditate on nature mind, and then you're like, was that really it? Did it really happen? Like all this sort of, So without devotion, certainty does not arise. That's devotion's like for, because the mind holds back and judges without devotion, like. So therefore, without devotion, recognition cannot develop into confidence. And recognition, without devotion, recognition remains fragile. And practice becomes then, intellectual rather than experiential, So therefore, without devotion, the instruction remains conceptual, because there's no blessing, there's no trust, So then sort of become a memory, like about it, and rather than a living sort of recognition. So therefore, devotion creates the conditions for recognition. It's like, warmth allows ice to melt. Recognition may happen without devotion, but it will not be stable and it will not be certain. Therefore, some people say, read Dzogchen teachings and say, I don't need teacher, I understand. Totally wrong. More you have devotion and understand it, your practice become stable, authentic. It makes your mind strong, very stable. No matter what happens, you just believe it. Because of the devotion. So then you will experience the truth of the instructions. So it's very important. Then it says, you come to see the direct face of Rigpa, naked and free from conceptual elaboration, right? So this means you are not thinking about awareness. You are recognizing your awareness directly without visualization, mantras, or meditation objects, just as unfabricated presence, exactly as it is. So, free from conceptual elaboration. This is very important to understand, right? Conceptual elaboration occurs when the mind thinks this is it, or tries to describe or improve it. Then we turn sort of Rigpa into an object, right? And that's not free from conceptual elaboration. Mapjup Rigpa in Tibetan. So Rigpa is recognized prior to any thought. Okay? Free from conceptual elaboration. Then it says, once recognition is certain, it is essential to sustain the essence of Rigpa itself. This certain is no longer confused with other sort of mental experience. So this certainty is not intellectual. Okay? It arises from direct experience, from your, recognition. Now, in essence, this whole line means that at the beginning, through the Guru's direct pointing instructions, with your good foundations, you must clearly recognize the Rigpa itself directly without thinking about it. Once that recognition is unmistakable, you know it. If you really recognize, you know it. You are not intellectual, right? Then your practice consists simply to, remain in the Rigpa and let the Rigpa sustain itself effortlessly and without interference. Okay? Now the next teaching says, more recognition alone is insufficient. The strength of recognition must be developed. Although you may recognize Rigpa in the beginning, if you don't settle in that recognition, it will quickly be interrupted by thoughts, making it difficult to experience Rigpa in its naked state. Therefore, at this stage, it is crucial to settle without blocking or indulgent thoughts, but rest repeatedly and for periods of increasing duration in natural, open awareness. So here Mipham Rinpoche gives very precise guidance, on the second stage of Dzogchen practice, the familiarization. And he explains how recognition develops into stability. So basically he's saying, Rigpa, recognizing Rigpa, once or twice is not enough. And early recognition is not stable because it has little strength to remain present. And if you don't continue practice it, you will forget, and then you will lose it. So you have to, it's like recognizing someone's face in a crowd. If you do not keep looking, right, you quickly lose it again. Therefore, strength develops through repeated resting, not by trying harder, but by sort of repeatedly. If you don't try, meditate on it harder, then you don't feel, oh, it's boring. But you just naturally, repeatedly meditate on it again and again. If you lose it, no worries. Just do it again. You lose it again like that. It says, although you may recognize Rigpa in the beginning, this is a very common experience, I think. But if you don't let this awareness remain naturally, then your recognition sort of collapses into thinking, and your awareness become then obscured. So when thoughts interrupt, Rigpa remains present, but it is no longer clearly recognized. Your experience become then, mixed with concept, right? So your naked Rigpa cannot destroy it, but it is simply no longer seen directly. It's like cloud. The cloud cannot destroy the sky, but it can prevent to see clearly the sky. It's the same thing. Your thoughts, emotions cannot destroy it, but no longer seen directly, the Rigpa itself. So it says, therefore, at this stage, it is crucial to settle and rest repeatedly. So this is the core instruction. And this describes how practice actually works. So rest repeatedly in short moments, many times, gradually increasing duration naturally without forcing. So today you do, for example, once you 100% sure recognize nature mind, then you naturally, take short session, do many times, repeatedly, and then slowly you meditate on, increase your duration a little bit longer, because now you feel you can keep it 2 seconds, 3 seconds, you can, So this is not about concentrating, or this is not about controlling your experience, but this is about return again to the simple, this presence. Okay? So then over time, recognition becomes familiar. The familiarity becomes confidence, and confidence becomes stability. So recognition, Rigpa, as I say, once, twice is not enough. Because at first recognition is easily lost, because of thoughts. It's just very, you have to, like your recognition of the nature mind become like thought. Like this thought, we create habit, right? This just naturally thoughts comes. We don't have to do anything. It comes naturally all the time. That's why recognition easily lost because of thoughts. But if you change, then thoughts sometimes appears, but most time like you have all this recognition. So we have to, try to change, so that we have less thoughts, more awareness. So we need to practice and learn to settle naturally in awareness again and again, so that gradually this recognition becomes stronger, and lasts longer. So then, doesn't matter, like Kanjin Jigme Panso, he practiced many years. And then eventually, once he visited all over the Tibet, but once he visited to his root teacher's monastery, he meditated on the nature mind, and there was a lot of these invitations, monks line, they're offering all these things. He just he saw them, but not like he said, I did not lost my awareness. So gradually, sort of, if we practice, if you don't give up, I just warn you, right? It's hard. It's very recognition is not difficult. Oh, people think first, I recognize my nature mind. Easy. What is the difficult? The difficult part is the familiarization. You need just be gentle, but do it again and again, because the thoughts, distractions. Then it says, as you become familiar with this again and again, the waves of discursive thought gradually subside, and the face of Rigpa that you are sustaining will grow clearer. During meditation, remain in this experience for as long as possible. And in post meditation, maintain the mindful recollection of the face of Rigpa. Through continued familiarization in this way, the strength of Rigpa will naturally grow. So here Mipham Rinpoche explains how this recognition of Rigpa develops into stability through familiarity, and how practice continues both in meditation and in daily life, post meditation. So it says, as you become familiar with this again and again, again here is crucial, as I said, right? Practice does not rely on one long effort, but on short moments and repeated many times every day in your life. So, because each return strengthens this familiarity, It's like, you repeatedly meeting a person makes their face unmistakable. Mipham, which says the waves of discursive thoughts gradually subside. Thoughts are here compared to waves. They arise naturally, they move and dissolve naturally. So when thoughts lose their grip, then they no longer carry you away. So when awareness is recognized and rested in, your thinking naturally calms. It's like waves settle in when the wind stops. As your thoughts lose power, your Rigpa becomes more stable, and recognition become clear, and that means more confident. So the obstacle to develop all these three stages, these qualities, is the our thought. But we cannot force. We have to be gentle. Then is during meditation, remain in this experience for as long as possible, and in post meditation, maintain the mindful recollection of the face of Rigpa. So this teaching gives very practical instruction. Not only for this practice, right? But for any kind of meditation. So here, like when Rigpa is recognized, and then relax, remain in it, stay as long as is natural during your meditation, like your real meditation. And then you think, oh, I'm done meditation for today. Then you forget, right? So here, Mipham, we say no. We call it jitap in Tibet, means post meditation, which is more important than former meditation. The post meditation is actually your daily life, like when you are working, speaking, or feeling emotions, remembering this awareness, not losing yourself completely in this kind of activities, even when you are not meditating like formerly, but you are not forgetting it completely. That's what post meditation means. This is very important. Like when you sit down and then you meditate on bodhicitta, and you have all this feeling, compassion, kindness. But then you, okay, today I'm done, and then you have no post meditation. your activity, your work, and your speak, whatever, you totally forget that kindness, compassion. The great practitioners, they bring that, your form of meditation, whatever you develop, meditated, you have to bring that into your daily life. That's more important than sit-down meditation. So the summary of this teaching, Mipham Rinpoche advises that we should return again and again to this recognition. Then thoughts lose their power. Then awareness becomes confident, like clear. And then we can remain in recognition during meditation. And then gently remember this awareness in daily life. So through this ongoing familiarity, recognition naturally becomes stable and strong. It's like learn to recognize someone's voice. At first you are unsure, but with repeated hearing the voice, then the recognition becomes certain. Then eventually no effort is needed. That's why these great meditators, doesn't matter whatever they're doing, they are in meditation. We think they're not meditating in their daily life, but they are, because they're just this habit, kind of, like ordinary language. Their meditation become like life and habit, never forget. It's just natural, So, in Dzogchen teachings say that recognition alone is not enough. So after receiving the pointing out instructions, many practitioners encounters obstacles and problems. They recognize it once, but then cannot sustain it. Why does that happen? Because, our mind is continued and conditioned by strong these habits, and the mind is used to following all these thoughts all the time. We planning, we judging, we daydreaming, all these kind of things, So recognition is subtle. So the mind naturally forgets this recognition, the Rigpa, and get distracted by so many things in daily life. That's why the post-meditation is so important. So early sort of recognition alone does not lead to full realization. So strength in recognition is achieved gradually, repeatedly and naturally without forcing. So therefore the best method is as usual, mindful continuity and repeat it. And then effortless familiarization. So we know this, right? All these distractions easily interrupt our practice. Then we cannot maintain our practice continuously. So therefore, it is also important to, the Buddhist teachings say, reflect on impermanence, bodhicitta, and cause and effect. Because these reflections sport sort of urgency, and motivation, and helping to keep, the sustained practice after receiving, pointing out instructions, recognize the nature mind. So we have to use other methods for, developing the nature mind. Whatever keeps you, brings you, whatever methods, you can use any kind, not necessarily teachings, but like your like daily life, like whatever reminds your meditation, that will help to develop this nature mind.